We now return to a very long-winded bunch of crap. The defense has a piece of evidence that reveals important details about the photographer's identity. What? Very well then, counsel. Present your proof to the court. Which piece of evidence do you claim reveals something about the identity of the mystery photographer?
Take that!
What is that? The newspaper again? Raucous England returnees tell all? It's not the headline that's relevant here, Your Excellency, it's the photograph. If you look at it closely, you'll notice that there are some white lines on the right-hand side. Yes, indeed. They had already caught my eye, as it happens. What of it? A shadow of some kind, presumably, from the branches of a tree or the like. There are no trees growing inside my laboratory at the university, I can assure you. Now, if you look closely at this photograph... Good gracious. Yeah, it's exactly the same pattern of lines as present on this photograph, too. That tells us nothing. Ah, yes, it's a shadow of some kind, definitely, from the branches of a tree. There wouldn't be any trees growing inside a hut at the beach, counsel. What's quite remarkable about it is that the two patterns are absolutely identical. How could such an extraordinary similarity have transpired? The curious matching pattern that appears on both photographic prints is a result of... well, I mean, camera defect, but if we're going to be honest about it, and it's like a cracked lens, something that close would probably just show up as a blur on a photograph, rather than an actual crack. A camera defect! Obviously, it must be due to a problem with the camera used to take the photographs. With the photographic device? Yes, we can confidently say that the camera's lens must be scratched, and that the scratched lens caused unwanted lines to appear on every print taken with the device. In short, the two photographs under consideration here were taken with the same camera. But there must be hundreds of such camera devices here in the capital. It would be utterly impossible to identify the owner of this particular one. Just ask whoever owns the fucking paper. I think you're forgetting, Prosecutor Auchi, that one of the photographs featured in a newspaper article. A newspaper... That's right. The author of that article is the mystery witness to this crime. What? Minimembo? What the fuck does that mean? I see why you were called a raucous England returnee. What are you yelling about? You've already testified. It's Minimemo, I tell you. Minimemo. Minimemo. Saseki-san, what was that? Did you say Minimemo for the billionth time? Ever since I returned to Japan, a reporter from the Shoyu News has been hounding me, following my every move. A reporter by the name of Raiten Minimemo. Yes, hounding me from dawn till dusk. Now that he mentions it... The secretly spy snapshots. Could that same reporter be... A camera to the left of him, a notebook to the right. There I am, stuck in the middle with Wright and Minimemo. There's... what the fuck is the joke with that name? Whatever that is awful. So you're saying that this picture was taken by Minimemo? Yes, how many times do we need to repeat this? My lord, your excellency, Esquire. Officer, find this newspaper reporter at once and bring him to my courtroom. We will adjourn for a short recess in the meantime. Oh, yes, Your Excellency. As you say, Your Excellency. And one more thing. I want this knife, the murder weapon, examined for traces of poison. You will solicit the assistance of the Imperial University's medical department for the task. Understood? Mini memo. It'd be nice if this game had breakpoints that were not every awkward space, hour 15, what it seems to be. It'd be a lot easier to keep track of all this. Then we wouldn't have awkward breaks for the episodes. I'm so sorry, Susato. I should have told you about the toxin. Ray. You have a strong sense of responsibility. I know. That's why you decided to shoulder the burden alone. No, that's not it at all. I was scared of my failure coming to light, that's all. So I hoped to retrieve the substance from the Englishwoman before anyone found out. Before the trial started, do you remember what you said, Susato? That you had no idea in your mind about my innocence? Or that I had no idea. Had no doubt in your mind about my innocence? That you'd stand by me to the last? I remember. And yet I didn't deserve your trust in me. I hid important details from you, Susato. I completely betrayed your faith in me. Hit me, Susato. I deserve it. No, in fact, throw me to the floor. No, that's too good for me as well. Drag me through the city streets. I know better, you know. Oh? Even though in my heart I knew that you'd pull the knife blade from Miss Brett's back, there was just a brief moment when, in my mind, I doubted you. Susato, I'm sorry. After I stood there and promised you that I'd stand by you and always be on your side, I betrayed your faith in me, too. And as such, I've failed you as a lawyer. I mean, you're apparently not a lawyer. I think this situation has taught both of you a valuable lesson. Trust in the heart of the cards. Placing your unbridled faith in another is no easy task. Yes, Father, and that fact has certainly struck home. Which is why I see more clearly now. So, Ray, yes? Can you find it in your heart to forgive me? Oh, Susato. You know you'll always be a gallant, dashing lawyer in my eyes now. Oh, Ray. I was so scared, you know, when it happened. I didn't know what was going on. The Englishwoman was sitting at the back of the hut listening to what I was saying. I know you stole the poison. And then, a moment later, yes, we don't need to... Fuck. On the last episode. It all happened right before my eyes. And you were the only people in the hut at the time? That's right, just Miss Brett and myself. There was no one else. So I just don't understand how she could possibly have been stabbed like that. A great mystery indeed. I still can't believe it happened. That's why I just couldn't bring myself to speak up. It will be all right. However, it happened, and whatever really went on by the sea that day, I promise you that I'm going to prove everything you've said you saw as true. Spoken like a true meat kotoba. Sure. Now, I think we should discuss what's coming up in the trial, don't you? We don't have much time. We must make sure we have our facts in order. Yes, I expect the poison is going to come under close scrutiny in the upcoming proceedings. The police should hopefully have identified it on the blade by now. The trouble is, it's a completely new laboratory-synthesized blend of alkaloids. The police won't have any way of testing for it. Oh, I see. Yes, without this chemical reagent, it's impossible to detect the toxin. Chemical reagent? I sent a colleague of mine off with some earlier to deliver to police headquarters. I think perhaps you should have some as well, though just in case. The chemical reagent has been stored in the court record. What's the matter, Sir Sato? You are suddenly very quiet. It's because I'm about to look at the poison in my bag. The label appears to be written in a foreign language that I don't know. It's German, so your knowledge of English is going to be of little help here, I'm afraid. I mean, actually, you probably have a good approximation of it, depending on what the word is. Couldn't you have just written medicine on it in Japanese? Then we'd all be able to read it. German is the international language of medicine, my dear. But yes, I can certainly see the merit in labeling the bottle in Japanese, though I'm not sure medicine would be entirely appropriate. Alright. It's this newspaper article. Exclusive! Deadly poison stolen from Yume Medical Research Laboratory. I wonder how the information got out, given that it was a government secret. It was all the Englishwoman's doing. What? It was when the professor and Saseki-san were being interviewed at the laboratory. That so-called English lady swanned in and without any compunction said to Professor Mikotoba, "Oh, Professor, surely your guest would love to hear about your work on that substance there." It put me in a very awkward position, to be frank. But Saseki-san's curiosity had been piqued, so I had little choice but to give him a cursory introduction. So then, Saseki-san knew about the poison. Yes, and it's highly likely that the reporter who was writing up the story about us would have caught a glimpse of the toxin too. This Minimemo-san. By the way, did the reporter join you all when you went to the beach? Oh, no, I don't remember the reporter being there. Indeed, he shouldn't have been. I very much doubt anyone would have wanted him there. No? A known criminal had been given permission by the authorities to bathe by the seaside. Soseki-san pointed out that inviting a reporter might be problematic, so the man was sent back to his office. Yet he obviously didn't go back. He secretly followed the party to the beach and took a very candid photograph, and then presumably he posted it anonymously to the police. Ah. Yes, that must be what happened. Counsel, we've just heard that the new witness is now ready to testify. The trial is about to resume. Please proceed into the courtroom at once. It's time to steel ourselves once again, then. Defense Attorney, Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Yes. Ray has put her faith in me now and told me everything. So I can't let her down. I have to prove that what she's telling the court is true. I have to prove what really happened that day. I hereby call this court to order as we reconvene to continue the trial of Rei Membami. Prosecutor Auchi, have you summoned the new witness? Before I address that question, Your Excellency, I have some very important news to share. Oh? What news? And why does he look so happy about it? During the recess, with the collaboration of Professor Mikotoba's laboratory at Yume University, the police re-examined the knife that was used to end Miss Giselle Brett's life. Excellent. I admire your rapid handling of the matter. Oh, too kind, Your Excellency. Too kind. I was merely carrying out your instructions, of course. I had a reagent delivered to police headquarters by rickshaw, so it would be there in good time. But judging by the man's swagger, I fear we might need to brace ourselves for the inevitable. And counsel, what were the results? This dagger, which was so cruelly used in the life of the victim, has no trace of poison anywhere along its blade. What? Are you sure about that? I would stake the reputation of the police on it.
Armed with reagent, the test is extremely simple. They couldn't have made a mistake.
The murder weapon has been entered into the court record. In short, the accused's feeble excuse earlier has been utterly destroyed. Okay, but I'm going to look at this map first.
Ah yes, this must be the victim's blood.
Oh dear, blood is never a pretty sight, is it? I'm having to fight the urge to run it under a hot tap and get it clean.
You've always been fastidious about cleanliness, haven't you?
I think this is something else, Father. All right. Now, the prosecution is ready to call the new witness.
The newspaper reporter who managed to capture a photograph of the crucial moment. Good.
Very well. Officer, bring in the witness. No trace of poison on the knife. But if that's really the case, how could the toxin have entered the victim's body? Witness, please state your name and occupation for the court. By 10 many menmo of the Shoyu News. I'm what people like to call a journo. What's a journo, Father? Do you know?
It's simply a contraction of journalist.
I'm there where the news breaks, putting pen to paper to catch those scoops so they're in print the next morning. Ah, look at his armband. They don't call me the hero of the Herald for nothing. The nice guy of news. Oh, so, it was you who took this photograph, was it? Well, well, what have we here? I'm sorry? Oh, brace yourselves, people. Minimenmo senses a scoop in the offing. Female student up to foul play defended by curiously handsome young lawyer in Supreme Court. The readers will lap this up. We'll set it above the fold at 72 point in a 5-leg format of the morning edition. Huh? Right then. Let's start with your name. Oh, it's Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Next, what made you become a lawyer? I wanted to reform our country's legal system, I suppose.
Ryutaro has suddenly become very ambitious, I see.
I just borrowed Kazuma-sama's dream for a while. By the way, my name is Taketsuchi Aochi. That's Taketsuchi Aochi. I'm the so-called dark horse of the Supreme Court. My objections clearly strike fear into every defense lawyer's heart. No, the readers won't buy that. What?
Witness.
Yes.
What this court demands to know is whether or not you were responsible for the taking of this picture. It was delivered anonymously to the Imperial Police Bureau only yesterday.
Yeah, I wouldn't be a journal if I didn't click quick when presented with a scoop like that now, would I? Sometimes stories call out to me, sometimes I have to chase them down, but either way, you've got to be fast. Fast legs to run with and a fast hand to write with. It's no good if you don't note it down, I always say. That's what I call a minimemoism. Minimemoism.
Ah, yes, I remember your face. We met that day when you were interviewing myself in Soseki-san.
Yes, right, that was me. Menmo again. Menmo again.
But you were supposed to be going back to the Shoyu news offices after our meeting. But the scoop is, I didn't. Because that Englishwoman's words had piqued my journalistic interest. Miss Brett's words? A criminal left to do as she pleases just because she happens to be a British citizen. Why are you licking a pencil? I get the pen because that starts the ink, and it's an old thing to be doing, and your hand would imply that you write with ink. Unless that's photographers' chemicals on your hand or something. What is that? It's horse dung. This country's judiciary is rotten to the core. The Supreme Court's rulings aren't worth the paper they're written on. The police are just imperial pawns. Stay your tongue, young man. There are complex political issues at play, and especially at this point in Japan's history when the secret police will just make you disappear. This is probably not something you want to be saying. Well, anyway, I quickly jotted down those words she said in my memo pad. Are you ready? I'll read it out. It's all here. Right, here it goes. I should like to go with everyone to see your country's coasts. A serious criminal going to some junket? Going on some junket? The people need to know about this. That's why I decided to sneak after them. To get the woman's story so I could hammer her in the press. Do you mean to say that you did indeed witness it firsthand? The grim scene portrayed in this photograph? Oh yes, I saw it with my very own journo eyes. From start to finish. Through the viewfinder... I can't keep this up. The viewfinder of my trusty camera. Thank you, Minimemo-san. Minimemo-san. You will now give a formal testimony before the court. You will state exactly what it is that you witnessed of the events surrounding Miss Brett's death. The camera never lies. The beach hut was made of shoddy old reed screens, so there was plenty of gaps I could see through. The Englishwoman was sitting on a stool when the student girl came in and started arguing with her. Seconds later, the girl pulled out a knife, throwing the Englishwoman to the floor as she stabbed her in the back. My smoldering journo spirit burst into flames. Quick as a flash, I whipped out my camera, ready to click. I pulled apart the rough weave of one of the screens and poked the lens through for the perfect shot. Okay, but so the ink must be from the pen that she pulled from him is on his hand. Reed screens, you say? Right, you can see them clearly enough in that great shot I snapped. Or the snapshot, if you will. The hut walls were just screens made of coarsely woven reeds. Yes, it allows the breeze to pass through and some relief from the summer heat. And it was a breeze for me to poke my camera through and see the whole thing hotting up. Ignoring for the time being the appalling invasion of privacy involved, did you witness everything that happened from the moment the defendant entered the hut? Oh yes, I saw it. I saw the whole thing from start to finish. And you saw that... You say that you took the photograph through a gap in one of the screens. Luckily for me, they were pretty shoddily woven. I pulled the reed apart and thrust the lens of my camera through the gap. Would I get away with it, or would I be seen? It was the gamble of a lifetime. A tenacity of purpose that's considered admirable in a journalist, I suppose. Run a risk one day, run a scoop the next. That's Minimemoism in a nutshell. At last, it would appear we have a genuine witness to this wicked crime. The evidence and testimony are extremely compelling. I believe we may be close to a verdict. No. Wonderful news, Your Excellency. Wonderful. Nevertheless, it cannot be denied that this testimony begs one very large question. What question? Exclusive news, a startling photograph, all the makings of an exceptional story for the reporter. Why, then, was the story never published? Oh, that's right. It seems clear to me that there are circumstances at play here that are yet to be understood. More pathetic excuses. Very well then, counsel. Proceed with your cross-examination. Yes, Your Excellency. There's more to this reporter than meets the eye. He's a transformer. He's keeping something about this case very close to his chest or on his arm. Or perhaps in the camera. Or under his hat, God knows. The beach hut was made of shoddy reeds.
Hold it!
What made you want to see what was happening inside the beach hut in the first place? Call it journo instinct. Can you think of a better reason? Oh, I don't know. Perhaps because as well as being a proven criminal, the person inside was a young woman. Ah, I see where you're going with this. Brace yourselves, people. He's painting the journo as a voyeur. It's hardly slander, sir. You had a camera, and you were taking pictures without the woman's knowledge. Oh, you've got it all wrong, little student boy. Sorry? To my mind, all that was inside the hut was a scoop. Nothing more, nothing less. Scoops know no gender, man or woman, it's all news. That's not even minimalism, it's basic journalism. Only the courtroom was as indiscriminate. Right, so if that's all buttoned up, can we move on? Tell the court then, witness. What sight befell your eyes when you looked inside the hut? The sight that vindicated my journo instinct, that's what. And when I pulled back the reeds, I could see it all as clear as day. The English woman was sitting on a stool when the student girl came in and started arguing.
Hold it!
So you actually saw Menbami-san enter the hut. Yep, and she was raging. Raging like my journo spirit. And the argument you mentioned, what was that about exactly? You stole it, I didn't steal it, that kind of thing. Talking about the poison, I suppose. The student girl walked right up to the English woman and really started laying into her. I mean, if she'd laid into her any more, there would have been eggs. The man should have been an author. His descriptive talents are wasted on journalism. But the student's rantings fell on deaf ears, like a Japanese person listening to English for the first time. He really ought to work on his similes first, though, to be honest. Anyway, the point is, that woman in the dog was mightily angry. And her temper finally got the better of her, it seems. Dear me. Which was the climactic moment that I caught on film. Seconds later, the girl pulled out a knife, throwing the English woman to the floor and just stabbed her in the back.
Hold it!
You swear before this court that you actually saw the precise moment when the stabbing took place. Ah, the precise moment. I didn't see just that. I saw the whole hellish scene play out from start to finish. I have here a simple plan of the beach hut. Perhaps you could use it to explain to the court exactly what you witnessed. Right you are. It's all here in my memo pad. When I first peered into the hut, I'm sure that the Englishwoman was on this stool at the back of the hut here. Yes, the accused's own testimony confirmed that. She just sat at the back of the hut, smiling sweetly, is what I have noted down. It's my turn to testify now. Do try not to interrupt. Then, the next moment, as I was watching, the evil student girl entered the hut. After a while, the pair of them ended up in the middle of the hut, arguing furiously. The Englishwoman went for the student, but the girls dodged out of the way. And in a flash, plunged the knife into her adversary's back as the two passed each other. What you describe as a grim scene indeed, a grim crime indeed. Never sugarcoat the truth. That's what Mini-Minmoism says. Beach hut plan has been entered into the court record. By the way, Mini-Minmo-san, whilst you were watching that terrible scene unfold before your eyes through the gap in the screen, did it not occur to you to try to prevent the tragedy rather than capture it on film? Journos have to be observers. We can't get involved. That's our raison d'etre. So you didn't converse with Miss Brett at all? Obviously not. An observer always remains on the outside looking in. And that's something to be proud of, is it? Your Excellency, if I may. Yes, Professor. I think the witness's last expertly phrased statement should perhaps be added to his formal testimony. Mother, what are you... I will grant the defense's request. Mini-Minmo-san, you will supplement your formal testimony with the aforementioned statement.
Well, nihilism is the foundation of Menomoism, but I'll gladly prove that my words aren't meaningless. I never once set foot in the hut nor spoke with the Englishwoman. I was there only as an observer. You know what? We're just going to cut this whole thing.
Objection!
Minimenmo-san, until now I've had a firm belief that newspapers are in the business of uncovering and publishing the truth. You're spot on there. The press doesn't lie, which is why I'm proud to wear the emblem of the Shoyu News on my arm. In a way, that's more Minimenmoism. Sadly, though, it seems the journalists who write for those papers don't always share the same passion for the truth. What are you suggesting with those recriminatory words, Counsel? Minimenmo-san, do you recognize this fountain pen? This pen was found at the scene of Miss Brett's death. In fact, the murdered victim was gripping it in her hand as she died. What are you... If you look at the barrel of the pen, you'll notice that its owner's initials are engraved here. R.M. Yes, thank you for bringing that up, Counsel. The initials of the accused, Ray Membami. Is it a coincidence, I wonder, that your initials are also R.M.? No. Right-ten Minimemo. R.M. That's horse dung. Can't you see one of the central tenets of Minimenmoism is being a pencil user? And yet, as the court will clearly be able to see, on your right hand, there is a very obvious blue ink stain. It would appear that you must have rather carelessly left it somewhere recently. Your favorite fountain pen, that is. Horsey horse dung! Minimenmo-san, is it not the case that before she died, you met with Giselle Brett in that beach hut?
Objection!
Why should we listen to this absurd nonsense? It's nothing but another excuse. Exactly. Shoyu News will stand behind me all the way. I deny everything. There must be as many people with the initials RM as there are stars in the night sky. There's not that many people on the planet, but sure, the defense has neither the time nor the inclination to count every star in the sky. And there's no need, anyway, because this pen has more to tell. Yes, there is another clue. A clue that undeniably proves who its owner really is. In that case, Counsel, the defense will now show the court where this alleged clue lies. Of course, Your Excellency. The clue on this fountain pen that clearly reveals its owner's identity is... Oh, shit. I have to present it. I have to present it, not examine it.
Got it!
As well as the initials, there is also an emblem on this fountain pen. An emblem that you will of course recognize, Minimenmo-san. Goodness me, it's the emblem of the Shoyu News. In other words, the owner of this pen is an employee of the Shoyu News whose initials are RM. Suddenly the stars in the night sky don't seem so numerous, do they? Well, Minimenmo-san, how do you respond? No. Order, order! Explain yourself, witness. So, this is how the mighty Supreme Court works, is it? Using coercive tactics to have well-meaning citizens reveal harmless secrets. I've used nothing but honest tactics. All right then, fine. I won't try to hide it anymore. Yes, not long before that grim tragedy unfolded, I, a Shoyu News reporter on behalf of the public, conducted an interview with the Englishwoman. An interview? You never mentioned this before? When exactly was this? As I said, it was before that evil little student girl showed her face in the hut. It couldn't have lasted more than 2 or 3 minutes, that's all. It was just a brief exchange. But it came to nothing, and as we Minimenmoists say, the people don't The people don't pay their dues for unworthy news.
However insignificant you deem it to be, this court cannot overlook the meeting between yourself and the victim. You will testify now under oath about the precise nature of this meeting and what transpired.
Got it, yes, all right, but on one condition.
Condition?
In all good conscience, I couldn't speak out alone about this. You need to call back the earlier witness, Soseki Natsume-san.
Soseki-san?
Oh yes, according to my notes here, that man has a secret of his own, and brace yourselves, because it's not a harmless one, it's big. What? Minimemoism states that one man's secret is every other man's front page story.
Very well. I will grant the witness's request in this instance. Officer, summon the earlier witness back to the stand.
Soseki-san, hiding something?
The witness's secrets. Next time